I had planned to read Mark Lawrence's Book of the Ancestor trilogy. At some point down the road, it was on my TBR, but Audible had a sale, so I've read it sooner than planned. Bless you, Audible. Book of the Ancestor is another fantasy series set in the same unique fantasy world created by Mark Lawrence for the Broken Empire and the Red Queen's War, both trilogies that I thoroughly enjoyed, but both of very different tones from each other and from the Book of the Ancestor, at least so far. Broken Empire is solid grimdark fantasy, and I so enjoyed it. It was delicious. Red Queen's War was a little lighter, a little more humorous, but also still in that same gritty, dark world. And yet, it was also a little more spiritual than the Broken Empire, in a wonky sort of way. Although the Broken Empire has a little of that element in the third book. Now, Book of the Ancestor. Here, Mark Lawrence has given us some science fiction elements, while leaning even harder into the spiritual and or psychic elements of what he's created. This episode is spoiler light, let's be clear, so I won't go too deep into the details of Book 1, Red Sister, but suffice it to say, we learn more about the history and geography of this planet. Emphasis, planet. And the fact that humanity came to this planet from somewhere else once upon a time. Science fiction, baby. But all that is actually backdrop details behind the gold of this episode. Nona Grey. We are seeing in Red Sister, yet again, a story, one of those tried and true fantasy tropes where a young person has gone off to school to train in her magic and skills. But Nona is not staying with her uncle and aunt in a room under the stairs. Nope. Nona was sold into slavery, was owned by a pit fighter organization, but before she could grow enough to become a fighter, she ends up nearly killing an entitled lordling who basically tried to have his way with Nona's friend. And Nona ends up sentenced to hang. Her friend is hanged, even though she did nothing other than she's a peon, and the lordling got mauled. Moments before Nona is to take the noose, she's scooped up by this religious order and taken off to a convent and quickly sworn to vows to the ancestor, and begins her training. This was fascinating. What a great way to start a story. There's so much going on here in Book of the Ancestor, so much to enjoy. But what I love again and again, most of all, is simply this character, Nona. She's such a delight. She's naive, but she's also cold-blooded. She is skeptical of the world, yet she's hungry for friendship and love. And if she considers you a true friend, you have someone who will stand by you forever. Unless you betray her. Then she'll probably kill you. Nona lives in a world where there seems to be normal humans, and then there are those humans with the blood of one of 4 different specialty breeds of humans. Tribes is the term they use. So some of these are giants, some are speedsters, some can do magic, and some, the rarest of the breeds, can tap into the path. There's a capital P on path. The path, tapping into that, also seems to be magical, but accessing the path grants, incredible superpowers, some amazing abilities, but it also comes with great risk, including a potential risk of insta-death. There is a lot more to the path than we have had revealed to us yet in Book 1. So, that's all I know. It's pretty powerful stuff. Nona, of course, can tap into the path. She's not entirely sure what that means yet, but she's done some stuff. Now, Nona is at magic school, this convent, to learn how to utilize her powers. They seem to be, I don't know, this training is so that the sisters can go out into the world and be badasses to some extent. Because no one's messing with the sisters. Speaking of sisters, there seems to be three types. I've learned this so far. There are red sisters, which seem to be appropriately named because they seem to be the ones who are the warriors, the assassins, the ones who make the red flow. Then there are gray sisters, which I think are more the diplomats, the negotiators, but also the massive manipulators of circumstances. And finally, there are the holy sisters, which seem to be elevated above the rest, the ones who actually dedicate themselves to the worship of the ancestor. Yet, if I caught it right, they also seem to have the highest tendency to be accessing the path. So, yeah, there's stuff there. It boils down to don't mess with a sister. Just don't. Yet, the basis of this story is people are messing with the sisters, typically to their regret, and especially we have people still messing with Nona, mostly hoping to deal with her, which means deal with her, before she is a full sister. However, part of the fun of this book is that it's entirely a flashback. There are small pieces at the beginning, at the middle, at the end that show that in the current time, Nona is a full sister. And she and some other sisters are involved in a circumstance, an event. And Mark Lawrence just gives us bits and pieces of that, which interplay nicely with the flashback story that is the crux of the novel. His writing choices in using this device were just brilliant. I don't want to tell you more. You got to read the book and enjoy it. What I felt as I read Red Sister was I really had missed Mark Lawrence. His writing is spectacular. I really should see if I could get him to come on an episode and just chat about his books and about writing and how he comes up with these things. I mean, I keep praising his books. I imagine he's a fun guy to talk to. He's interacted with us on Twitter numerous times, even liked my Goodreads reviews. I should reach out. Mark, if you watch this, feel free. Be ready for me to reach out to you or be proactive, but I'd love to have a chat with you. Okay, that's it. Go read this book. It's that simple. I'll be back with another episode when I've finished book 2, Grey Sister, which I've already downloaded. It's waiting for me to read, but I'm interspersing these with my reread of the Stormlight Archive. So I'm currently on book 2, Words of Radiance. I'm plowing through it. When it's done, then I'll come back and read Grey Sister. But I do need to get the Stormlight Archive reread in advance of Wind and Truth coming out, book 5, in December. I've pre-ordered it. It's just going to drop and I need to be ready. Oh, but these are so good. Have you read the Book of the Ancestor already? Or other Mark Lawrence books that I mentioned and you just love them? Put your thoughts in the comments. You know I love to hear what you have to say, and I will be sure to respond. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.